Hey there, startup people. Today I'm going to teach you how to file a provisional utility patent application, which, if you get microentity status, will only cost you about $65. So I'll step you through the process of writing up the specifications, doing the drawings, and then also how to file it with the patent office. It's not as hard as it seems, and you can totally do it at home. So first things up, gotta say this episode is sponsored by Chuck Rack. Hitch mount ski rack, just in time for winter right now, and then if it's summer when you're looking at this, we also make a bike rack. So with that in mind, let's talk about patents. So one of the first books I read was called From Patent to Profit, and it made me think that I could make a ton of money by patenting things, and well, you might be able to actually do that. But in this book, this guy's claim to fame, Bob Mathies, anyways, Bob wrote about how he had come up with a little tab that's on plastic grocery bags that allowed you to then pull one side of the bag and it would open to put groceries in. And so his whole book is about talking how he would come up with a better product and then file a provisional patent, and then as quick as he could, while he still had provisional status, try and license the idea. And was Bob successful? Yes, a few times. But this is because if you read the book, you realize Bob is a sales guy, really. Yes, he's an inventor, but he's a better sales guy and able to get his ideas to the people who find it valuable, who then want to pay him money for those ideas. So if you read the rest of the book, there's times where he had little products that were less successful. For example, I think he had like a pizza slicer or something of that nature, and he was having a hard time trying to sell the last 2,000 units or whatever he had of a 10,000 or plus unit run. And so either way, even, this gentleman who wrote this book, he had his own fair share of problems trying to sell merchandise that there just really may not have been much of a solid market for. But the book talks a great deal about the patent system and how to file patents, and really kind of made it easier for me to then go about trying to file provisional patents and then maybe try and see if I could license them. What I'm going to step you through right now. So with that, let's look at an example. So a great example I have here is, if I go to drawings, and I'm going to hide me so we just see this. I had at one point really wanted to make a individual single cookie oven so that you could cook a cookie at your desk, and I actually made one of these, and it made a delicious cookie at my desk, and it made my whole desk area smell like chocolate chip cookies and drove all my coworkers insane. And it was pretty awesome. Basically the size of a CD-ROM drive, an old one, even if you know what an old one looks like. I guess that's super dated. But kind of like half a pack of Oreos. That's a better size description. So either way, it had a little arm that you could pull out a little tray that was like Teflon coated or something like that. And then the outside was cool, and then the inside was at like a constant temperature that would cook a cookie at about 310 degrees or so. And it would just sit there, and whenever it was clicked on, it would bake, and it would self-regulate its temperature and whatnot. So in order to file a provisional patent, first thing I like to do is make up drawings for whatever it is I'm trying to file and label them. In this instance, every single drawing you want to have a figure number with it. So I have figure 1, and then you want to point out every single possible element that you in your diagram and give them each unique numbers unless it's the same thing. So for example here, this might say 15. Is 15 anywhere up here? Yes, right there, 15. So those are the same items. That's a hinge, right? And so you would basically go through, label everything that somebody would need to know in order to recreate your device. And then basically, this is good to do it early because then you can go and write your specifications, which is your description of everything. And you can reference these numbers as you do it, and it'll save you a lot of time. Now, something people don't realize is that provisional patents actually can have more than one idea in them. You can have multiple ideas. So luckily, I found this old provisional I had filed and looked through, and I had lots of ideas in here because why not save money? So here's the side view of the oven, and then what's this? This was actually my photo crop sharing app called Snicker, where you would take a photo of something and then you would crop it down and then you would share that cropped image. And then if you clicked on the shared cropped image, it would then blow up and show you the full one. That was neat. Here's another one I had, which was basically a little thermometer with an indicator light. And it would get tossed into a cup of coffee, and then when the coffee reached the perfect temperature, and then it could use for tea also, coffee, tea, hot cocoa, whatever, but you would toss it in, and then when it reached the preferred temperature to drink, it would then light up and or beep, and then you would just pull it out and drink from your cup. It also cooled your drink down a little bit quicker because it was a heat sink of sorts, just because it was metal. Same reason why you put a spoon into tea is actually because that cools down the tea quicker. So anyways, in this, basically, I had a diagram of the outside, and then a simple diagram showing the different components, and then another one showing alternating components, or an alternate version of the components. And so all of these have unique numbers. None of them overlap unless it's the same thing. And these figures are all 3 different items. So you want to have your figures numbered so that you can reference them, like I had stated. And if you do cutaways, having shaded regions is very good. You don't want to have anything in your diagrams that isn't in your written specifications, because then it confuses whoever's looking at it. They'll wonder what that extra part is or whatnot. And is it important? Is it not important? Especially if it's important, you don't want to miss labeling it. So with that in mind, I wrote all of this, and then you would go through and you would write your specifications. So I put in here the items, and then my name and address, and then here I have the first thing, which is the single size oven. And like I had stated in the patent search episode, you want to put in all your relevant patent documents that you had found. So these are the ones that I had found that were relevant at the time. And then here's an abstract. And it's very simply, what is this? Then the figure list showing the different figures and views. So figure 1 is an isometric view of the front side, back side, oven with the spatula displaced, etc. And then this is where it really comes in handy to have all of the numbers in place. And by the way, so those drawings, I just took my CAD program and told it to do simple line drawings with a white background. You have to have a white background with no gradient. You're not even supposed to have color. So this image with color is not great. Now you can still submit it, but it's not ideal. Ideally you have black and white drawings. So you go back through here, and this is where you'll say things like, the oven as drawn in figure 1 consists of a main outer body, 14, primarily of a low thermally conductive material such that it prevents burning of the user. And you want to try and make this understandable so that anybody reading this will understand it, and you've explained each one of the figures and numbers that you have in your drawing. So this is nice because you can go through literally numerically and make sure that you've talked about every single one and the important aspects of every one. And so then here's the big deal. At the end, you want your claim to be as broad as possible. And I guess I didn't bring up earlier on, I'm not a patent attorney. I'm not a patent lawyer of any sorts. Do your own research in this and don't hold me liable for any mistakes you made, and definitely seek out legal advice from a patent attorney prior to filing your provisional patent if you have any concerns about this. But you want your claim to be extremely broad because the patent office, their goal is to narrow your claims down as much as they possibly can, which means that when you go to file your non-provisional application, that is where you will want to narrow down to the specifics of what you are trying to patent. So for example, if you don't include a claim, or if what you're trying to claim later on in your non-provisional application is not included in your claim in your provisional, then you cannot include it. So that's the problem with having overly conservative claims in your provisional, is it limits you from having broader claims or other items if you change something a little bit in your provisional or non-provisional application. So here, again, super broad. What I claim is an oven which is sized to cook an individual baked good. And that is all I need because it's super broad and can easily be reduced finer and finer and finer, because I'm sure by the time I got something written that the patent office would actually want to allow, they would have narrowed it down to basically what would look almost exactly like my device and be configured only to cook a cookie of a specific mass with a specific ratio of something to something, which you can do in patents, is you can specify all of that and get your very, very narrow window of what is patented, which is another reason why a lot of times patents, while you intend them to be very valuable, a lot of times end up extremely useless because they end up being very narrow in their claims and they're not able to protect anything other than exactly copying your specific design, which might have been better protected by a design patent, just for the outside of it. But so then again, image crop application here, cited ones. I go through abstract, which is really just, the abstract is the general, as if you're conversationally telling somebody about it and why it's important. It is just a summary of everything. And then the specifications are the nitty-gritty of what everything does, every component. And again, I claim is a process for transferring a sectionally displayed image to a remote user. Very simply worded and would be narrowed down a whole lot more. And then same thing here for this pen. I don't even want to get into this, but so with that, now you need to file this. I actually would do all of these in Paint in terms of adding these lines. It's super easy in old MS Paint. You can use whatever you want. And then I copy and paste that into Word, and then I export, save as PDF, and then this gets me a nice PDF. And sometimes you have to do like a print to PDF. Either way, the patent office likes specific formats, and it can yell at you if it is not quite the right PDF format, which I didn't even know there could be slightly different ones until I started doing this. So with that in mind, a few forms that you're going to need. You're going to need your application provisional cover sheet, SB16, and you are going to have to basically enter in all your info here, the name of the invention, which is the title that you had, a firm or an individual name, mailing addresses. Is this a government, was this created under a government contract? Because if it was, then basically the government has some claim to it. So you'd put in here if it was or wasn't invented under a government contract, because then the government can use it free of charge. And let's see here, applicant, this is another important section, small claim or micro entity small entity or microentity status. So if you are a small entity, you will pay less than a large corporation, for example. And I mean large, like 500 employees or more is a large corporation. Less than that, and you can pay a small entity status. There's also limitations on income and things like that, especially for microentity status. So for microentity status, there's a few limitations here. So let me go to them. Here we go. Microentity status. How can you establish it? So you can just search USPTO microentity and it will come up. And basically, you can come down here to gross income basis, and it's something like you earn less than 3 times the median household income in the United States, or if you are a student or working for a university, and then also you don't have any more than 4 granted patents, I think. States it somewhere in here. You'd have to go read it again. But they basically are trying to incentivize people who want to do this to be able to afford it. And you can actually see that in the fee schedule. You know, a provisional application filing fee is $60 for microentity, $120 for small, and $300 regular fee. And you compare that to a regular basic utility electronic filing fee, and you basically will see, you know, all these things are $300 or less, and then you have to, for a regular non-provisional utility, pay for like your patent search through the office, for the patent office to actually search and look for other patents, and then evaluation of your patent and all things like that. But even still, all in, it doesn't get crazy expensive until you start submitting DNA sequences of 800 megabytes or more. Then they start charging you, it looks like, $10,000. So either way, if you ever want to look at this, this is the USPTO fee schedule. And now on to filing. So filing is super straightforward. So you're going to go to the USPTO. You're going to go to patents. You're going to go to filing online. And then you're going to come down here and go to open EFS web unregistered. Now, if you're going to file a lot of patents, eventually you can get a registration number, and that can make it easier for you to file patents and also keep track of where they are in the status of them, which I would recommend if you're filing after your second or third one, just get yourself a USPTO.gov account. Make note that it is kind of a pain to get it, and they require a lot of credentials in terms of like, send us this form, verify your ID, a whole bunch of other things. But once you have it, it's nice to have it. So you open EFS Web Unregistered, and it's going to pull up this site. And I already had put in some fake info here. So Joe Jefferson. And so you sign on as an unregistered e-filer, new application, utility, provisional, and you can see you can do design, and you can ask for supplemental exams and all sorts of other things. I'm not going to get into those. So you're going to hit continue. And then this is where we're going to enter the title of the invention. So I would enter in some title here. And then we don't have an attorney docket number because we're not an attorney doing this. Application data sheet up top. So with this, you either have your own application data sheet, which I will show you what mine looked like. So let's say that was certification of microentity, provisional cover sheet. I think I had another application data sheet somewhere, but either way, so you can either fill out all of it in the web-based one, which you're going to add all of your name and info and all that, or you can just do the application data PDF, which is what I did before. You do whichever one's easier for you, and then you just write in here, Jojo Johansson. If your name's Jojo Johansson, by the way, I'm sorry. And then, so this is where if you do have a customer number, you'd enter it there, or they just want an address, and you just put in your address. So like 123 Fake Street. Oh, that's the name. Jojo. 123 Fake Street. Chicago, Illinois, United States, none of that other info. Next. I mean, you'd want to enter it, but I'm not going to. Okay, great. Now we add our documents, and this is where it'll yell at you if you have the wrong PDF or whatever. So I like to do is go in and, oh, where did I put all this? Let me look for it. Here it is. So we'll go into select anything you want. So SB15A, hit OK, and then you're going to choose what it is. This is the entity status correspondence, and this is a certification of micro entity gross income basis. And then you go, does our PDF contain multiple documents? No. So then you go add file. Get your next one. SB16. Okay. What is this? This is the general transmittal. We'll have to double check. Here it is. Provisional cover sheet. SB16. Ta-da. So then again, add file. Choose file. Next. Drawings. So there's drawings, general transmittal, and you would find, nope, application part. There you go. Drawings, only black and white drawings, or drawings other than black and white line drawings. So since I have color in there, I'd want to choose other. And then I'm going to add another one, choose file. And then this is where I'd have the specification. It looks like I do have a transmittal form in there. So specification, okay. And then I come in here and I would choose specification. And then add one last file. And I'd say general transmittal of new application, and I gotta choose my transmittal form. Okay. And then you go upload and validate. So it's now going to upload and yell at me if any of these are incorrect. So it is doing all of it. It's probably going to yell at me that maybe none of this info here is correct, which is possible. So here we go. SB16, this is not a USPTO supplied cover sheet form. So you might want to remove that. So in general though, what you might want to do is I like to click on each one of these and open it up and see if it has all the info. And if it does, then you want to go through until you have no more errors. And if you look, this isn't an error because it's not red. It'll actually allow me to continue, which I'll do just for the sake of moving this video along. It's just a warning saying that this isn't correct. So you just want to make sure you correct that item. So you click through all of these, correct them, and then you go to the next section, continue, and this is where you want to calculate your fees. So here I'm going to click on micro entity, and it's a provisional, and now it's saying $60. Was this application originally filed on paper? No. Number of pages. I don't know. I think it's like 5. You can calculate however many pages you think it is. You don't even have to really enter that because it's not over the amount. And then you just hit calculate. And so it comes out to $60 is what we owe for our provisional micro entity. And so you would go over here to continue. And then you would look over everything here, and I'm going to just make this wide. And when you're done, you would click submit. And then after that, you come up and you would pay your fee, which is yelling at me it hasn't been submitted, so I can't, but you pay a fee. So it submits it and then asks you to pay. You can actually submit it and then not pay, which I won't get into right now, but in theory, you can do that, but then they can actually come after you and try and get a whole bunch of late fees and whatnot with that, potentially. And then you get a receipt, and the receipt will basically give you tracking on this so that if you ever want to look it up, and specifically if you want to later on include it with your non-provisional patent application stating that it has priority over your non-provisional application, meaning it is your stake in the sand, then you'd want that information. So that is basically all I have for filing your provisional patent application. It's not that hard. It really can take, an hour from making the drawings up and writing your specs and submitting it, and $60. So when somebody says, hey, I want to charge you $3,000 to write up a provisional application, which is what happened to me on one of my first projects, then just realize that you probably can save yourself that $3,000 and do it yourself. So I'm going to do another video on kind of, I guess, trying to sell your idea a bit more once you've got your provisional. But the big thing actually now is you have your provisional patent application, so you should be able to take that knowing that your idea is protected and start trying to sell your idea. Try and get funding without any fear of anybody taking it, because you've got a 1-year clock before you have to file a more expensive utility non-provisional application. And so this is your time to really prove out whether or not your idea has, can pass muster. And if it can, then great, then you probably can move forward on that project. But if it doesn't, then you only spent $60 and all your time, and you can do another thing. So I hope this was interesting. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe, and I will keep providing more of this content. Thanks.